So, I got into an alpha test of Projekt RISE, and honestly, it was some of the most fun I had playing a mobile game since Clash Mini. It really is just all that I hoped for. The core gameplay loop, the progression, it all just feels great. Still, the game isn't without its flaws, of which there are many, but most of them are just quality of life and should get fixed with further polishing. But before I start criticizing the game, let's talk about why I think it has the potential to be Supercell's greatest. While seeming very basic, the gameplay loop is still very satisfying. You enter the tower, explore the floor, kill enemies, search for the elevator keys, gain upgrade roguelike style, and ascend the elevator towards the next floor where rinse and repeat. The same goes for the combat itself, which is very simplistic, with every character only having a basic attack, a heavy attack, a damaging ability, and a mobility ability, making it very easy to understand and not that heavy on mechanics. Still, this is the part of the game that I have the most problems with, since especially for melee characters, the combat sometimes just feels unresponsive. There are mainly two reasons for this being the case. First up, depending on your character, you might be completely locked into place during your light attack combos. Secondly, your light attacks always target the closest enemy to you and not the direction your Joy-Con is facing, making it that especially in groups of enemies you can't interrupt enemy attacks when you want to. This isn't as bad for ranged attackers because you first up don't mind charging a heavy attack as much, and secondly, with a ranged character it's a given to stay away from enemies and with that staying out of enemy groups, making it that running away from enemies feels more natural than it does with a melee character. The second problem I have with the combat of this game is mainly because of one enemy, the Mega Knight. His attacks just cover a very large area and stun you, making it very hard to avoid them, especially since most of the movement abilities are either on very high cooldown or sometimes just don't allow you to go through enemies. Still, it doesn't ruin the combat and it's still very fun. But that's all I have to say about the combat of this game. Let's go to the second reason why I think this game is so great. No, I'm not talking about progressing in the tower, I'm not talking about the forge, I'm talking about leveling your characters. This part just already feels very great, with you having one major perk for which you can choose one or three which you will unlock over time, and being able to unlock many minor perks over time for which you can also pick and choose from a list of different ones. In theory this would allow you to create multiple builds that fit your playstyle, but in practice the amount of perks you have just isn't high enough. For example, you only have one minor perk more than you have slots for them, so there isn't really a decision of which one you take with you, but more which one you leave behind. In addition, the fact that you only have one slot for major perks leaves out a lot of very interesting interactions and dynamics. Luckily, since this is only a problem of numbers, it's very easy to fix. Just increase the amount of minor perks you can choose from to like 8 or 10, and increase the amount of major perk slots you have to like 2. In which case you would also have to increase the amount of major perks you can access from by like 1 or 2. I'm also just going to brush over the entire forge system because it just isn't finished and in its current state you would only have to interact with it like 24 times ever. The same goes with the system up here, it just clearly isn't finished yet and still needs a lot of work. But for anyone curious, the Forge system just allows you to unlock new upgrades for the roguelike system, and the system up here just unlocks all the other progression systems. The chests are also not that interesting, with them being just a standard progression system. Personally, I do think that they are done really well, and the only real issue I have with them is that the costs to unlock them just always varies after every chest. I would personally like if it stayed like at a consistent 400. And lastly, let's go with the system that's at the core of the game, the tower. At its core, it's very simple. You enter the tower, clear the floors, ascend to the next level, and repeat it. Every 5 levels you're gonna encounter a boss, after which is a checkpoint, and if you fail a level you're gonna get set back to your last checkpoint. This creates a very fun gameplay loop in which you have essential constant progression. The only real issue I have with it is that at some point these checkpoints begin being spread more apart, meaning that they only appear like every 10 levels. I personally think it's just happening way too early and they should wait with it till like floor 30. Still, there are many improvements which you can make to the system, like adding more towers. For example, I think a tower which is character specific is very important, since on later levels you can't use characters that are too under leveled. I also think having event style tower would be very cool. This could work, for example, in a way where you would only have a tower with 5 floors, which you would all have to clear in one go to actually make it count. This would make a very fun challenge and also give an extra goal to work towards, as this could just be increased with difficulty across all floors before you enter the tower. With that, we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to discuss anything, just leave a comment, and I hope you're as excited for the development of this game as I am. With that, bye.